Hi, I'm Donna Werner Freeman, and I'm an artist in residence here at St. Olaf Theater.
Hi, I'm Memo Rodriguez. I'm a senior theater major.
Hi, I'm Bjorn Long. I am a freshman theater major.
For a little background about me, the first time I performed Shakespeare, I was a freshman, which we called ourselves then at St. Olaf College in 1977 in the spring, and I played Juliet. Oh, and your professor was in that Romeo and Juliet with me my first year. She can tell you more if she likes. And then my senior year, I played Rosalind in As You Like It when Gary Gisselman first came to St. Olaf to be a guest director for us. It was Gary's first Shakespeare too, so it was really fun for us because he was very frank about the fact that he didn't know what he was doing and we didn't know what we were doing, and it went really well. And that those two were, I was so privileged to do that and lucky early on when I was just learning because I had no idea what I didn't know. And in the years since then, I've learned a lot about what I should have known, and that comes with, it comes with a better acting eventually, but also it took away some of that early freedom. So I really treasure that experience. Anywho, so then I went right on to grad school and studied Shakespeare and text analysis, part of my MFA. And then I acted at the Guthrie, acted professionally as my primary, what I did with my day for about 10 years. When I came back to teach here, I also then went to Oxford to study Shakespeare specifically with the Bada Company. Since then, I've also studied specifically with Shakespeare and Company in Lenox, Massachusetts. I list acting Shakespeare as one of my specialties, and it's certainly a special interest, but it's whenever you deal with Shakespeare, it's humbling to say that you have any kind of special knowledge because there's a world to know. It's 37 plays, but it's also like, peeling the onion. You never get to the middle.
So my background in Shakespeare is pretty much limited to college. I was in The Tempest freshman year with Donna Freeman, and that's where my love of Shakespeare started. After that, I've taken some Shakespeare classes in New York City, and I was in Great River Shakespeare Festival this summer. I understudied for Romeo and Juliet as Friar Lawrence, Benvolio, Paris, Samson, Gregory. A lot of people. And then I was Hubert in King John, which, if you haven't read it, so has 90% of the population. I took an acting for Shakespeare class with Donna. That was great. And other than that, I love Shakespeare. I've tried to read all of his plays. I'm still working on it.
I have been doing Shakespeare for a long time. The Idaho Shakespeare Festival, where I grew up, does these camps every summer, so I've done them for 6 years, these intensives where you do a Shakespeare play. And then last year I was an apprentice at the Idaho Shakespeare Festival. So I had master classes with some of the actors there and got to work backstage on the show and listen to King Lear be performed about 12 times, so that was fun.
And what I think is important in acting Shakespeare, I think the main thing it takes is energy. I think, how do I want to say this? I think the reverence that academia has for Shakespeare sometimes is very dangerous. Yeah, I think reverence for Shakespeare is something that, you can have when you're sitting in an English class, but when you get up and do it, it's important not to stay too stuck in the technique of it all. It really takes blood and guts. I think it's very apparent that whoever wrote these plays was a very passionate person, and so it takes nothing less than all the passion you have. And of course, you need all the technique. You need, good diction, strong voice. You need a curious mind. There's a lot of words in it that we may think we know, but I found that the curiosity to look at what exactly, not only what he meant, but what it means to you, unlocks the play a lot. And every word really carries a lot of weight. And playing with the language. I think the language itself has the limbs to sort of carry you through it. So really just committing to all the words. All of these characters are larger than life. So I think really diving into the words will unlock a lot for you.
So I like to think that I know a little bit about Shakespeare, and I think performing Shakespeare is not too different than performing a normal contemporary piece, as long as you do the same sort of things, the trying to go after a goal or using whatever techniques. It's obviously important to understand the language and to be able to work with the verse and know how the verse works and the iambic pentameter and whatnot, but you don't necessarily need to. It should inform your performance, but you should still focus mainly, like you usually do, on telling a story and being present. And it's important to find the balance between reading it like it's poetry and reading like you're just talking every day. You can't perform Shakespeare as if you're just trying to have a conversation, but you should also perform it as if it is real and natural and make sure people understand what you're saying. And that's performing it real, truthfully and naturally and honestly, making sure you know what's being said and making sure it's being conveyed is immensely, probably more important than it is in contemporary because it is so different. I mean, I'm not a teacher, so I could be saying things which are entirely wrong, but this is like sort of the way I view it, and there's a lot of stuff you can look at, but the keys are really just to be a good actor like you would normally and just apply this to Shakespeare while being comfortable with this confusing language and performing it as if you are honestly saying it.
Okay, so what's vital and unique about Shakespeare? I think the primary thing to know is that Shakespeare wrote in a lot of stage direction. But the way he did that, rather than putting them in italics and parentheses, is he wrote his language in verse. And the actor, to be aware, has got to be aware of how the line is laid on the page. Judi Dench has a great list of like 5 things actors should remember if they want to play Shakespeare. And one of the first things is observe the pauses. If Shakespeare isn't giving you an end-stop punctuation, you don't stop to think. You know, you're not smarter than the character. You're not smarter than Shakespeare. Just get out of his way, is my advice. But how can you do that unless you really know where those lines fall on the page? So, one thing we do in just get a taste of in beginning acting here, but then really embellish in intermediate acting, and then hit hard when we rarely can offer acting Shakespeare, is observance of the verse. So it's looking at how does poetry work as opposed to prose, and then it's also looking at the literary devices inherent in Shakespeare, both in verse and in prose. So antithesis is key, onomatopoeia, how is he using the language to craft the sound. Word is action in Shakespeare. All you have to change the world is the word. So there's that adherence. I remember about 10 years ago, a student told me that his problem with Shakespeare was so flowery. There's all those extra words. Baloney. There are no extra words in Shakespeare. It's as compact and well edited as any writing I have ever seen. So there's all that. And some days when I think I could have been born speaking any language, I think, thank God I was born an English speaker so I could know this man's work in his first language.
No more, no more! Worse than the sun in March, this praise doth nourish agues. Let them come! They come like sacrifices in their trim, and to the fire-eyed maid of smoky war, all hot and bleeding, will we offer them. The mailed Mars shall on his altar sit, up to the ears in blood. I am on fire to hear this rich reprisal is so nigh, and not yet ours. Come, let me taste my horse, who is to bear me like a thunderbolt against the bosom of the Prince of Wales. Harry to Harry shall, hot horse to horse meet, and ne'er part till one fall down a course.
Have at you then, affection's men at arms. Consider what you first did swear unto, to fast, to study, and to see no woman. Oh, we have made a vow to study, lords, and in that vow we have forsworn our books. For when would you, my lord, or you, in leaden contemplation, have found out such fiery verses as the prompting eyes of beauty's tutors have enriched you with? Other slow arts entirely keep the brain, but love, first learned in a lady's eyes, lives not alone immured in the brain, but with the motion of all elements, courses, swift as thought in every power, and gives to every power a double power above their functions and their offices. It adds a precious seeing to the eye. A lover's eyes will gaze an eagle blind. A lover's ears will hear the lowest sound. Love's feeling is more soft and sensible as the tender horns of a cockled snail. And when love speaks, the voice of all the gods makes heaven drowsy with the harmony.
I do think it is their husbands' faults if wives do fall. Say that they slack their duties and pour our treasures into foreign laps, or else break out in peevish jealousies, throwing restraint upon us. Or say they strike us, or scant our former having in despite. Why, we have galls, and though we have some grace, yet have we some revenge. Let husbands know their wives have sense like them, that they see and hear and have their palates both for sweet and sour as husbands have. What is it that they do when they trade us for others? Is it sport? I think it is. And doth affection breed it? I think it doth. Is 't frailty that thus errs? It is so too. And have we not affections, desires for sport, and frailty as men have? Then let them use us well. Else let them know the ills we do, their ills, instruct us so. I've probably already taken more time than our author of this video would like me to, chatting about Shakespeare, but I invite any of you who ever want to find a Shakespeare piece, come to me. They're all in my head, and I love putting people with pieces, and I wish you all the best as you learn it, both as a watcher and a performer and a theater maker, and just encourage that having the tools to really investigate the text, and they're not hard, it's like rules to do a certain kind of crossword puzzle, can really help you on stage. Thanks.